Welcome to the DrRcraft CSS Media Queries tutorial. CSS Media Queries allow you to apply CSS only when the user's device matches specific requirements of your choosing. These include checking for the device's width, orientation, and whether the user is using a touchscreen. Media queries are a key part of responsive web design, as the layout can be changed depending on the size of the browser window. For example, if we zoom in, and you can see eventually the background color will change because of a media query rule that is being used. In order to make our own, first let's look at some media types we can use. In order to start writing a media query, we can use the media add rule, add media, and then we can add a space and then pick one of three media types. The first one being all, which means any media type will apply the CSS code inside the curly brackets, or print, in which the CSS code will only be applied if the page is printed, or screen, which will apply it when it's on the screen and it's being viewed directly. Next, let's learn how we can specify feature rules for the media query. In order to add a feature rule, we have to expand our media query. We can do this by either adding a comma so that it checks for either if it's a screen or it matches this feature rule, or we can say and so that it checks for both. I'm going to use and here because I want to check for both the screen and this media query we're going to add. In this case, let's first check for the width or height. In this case, I'm going to do width because it's more practical, and we can check for a specific width. For example, if the port is 600 pixels, only then the code in this media query will be applied. We can add some code here to check for it. Now if we zoom in, it does not become red because my zoom intervals do not have a point where the width is exactly 600 pixels. So we can change this. We can set it to min dash width if we want it to check if the width is at least 600 pixels. So now it's applied, or max width if we want it to be 600 pixels or less. And we can also combine these. So if we do min width 600 pixels and max width 1000 pixels, then this code will only be applied if it's between 600 and 1000 pixels, the width. So now it's only at a specific interval. Next, we can check the device orientation by using the orientation rule, and it can be set to portrait to check if it's in a portrait rotation, or landscape if it's in landscape rotation. My device is in landscape rotation, so the CSS is being applied, and portrait, meaning its height is longer than its width, it doesn't get applied. Along with this, we can also check if the user is using a pointing device, such as a mouse. and not a touch screen or a keyboard by using the hover rule. We can set it to just hover, and then we can test it by adding a hover pseudo class and saying the background color. And now if we hover over it, see, I am using a mouse, so the background is being applied. We can also invert media queries using the not operator. So now this will only check if I'm not using a pointing device like a mouse. And now it is not turning red, the background. And this also works with other rules, for example, orientation rules. Now my device is landscape, the device width is greater than the device height, so the background is not becoming red. But if we do portrait, which is the opposite, then the background will become red. This concludes the CSS Media Queries tutorial. Thank you very much for watching.